Alright, what's up? So today guys, I'm doing a review of artificial turf cleaning, and this particular sweeper that I use for it, it's called the Karcher KM7020. That's the model, 7020C I think, but yeah, Karcher KM7020C. So this is about 1800 New Zealand dollars, and yeah, it's a good little tool. I'll talk about it for a little while, and then I'll talk about how it's ideal for artificial turf cleaning. So what it's got a main brush right here in the middle, which is a firm bristle brush. It's not stiff bristles, they're, as you can see, they're bendy, but it's got firm bristles, and it's probably got about 8 of them around the reel. And as you're going forward, it's obviously continually spinning, and as you're also going forward, that there is connected to a mechanism in here that causes these to spin as well. So as you're going forward, you got 3 brushes spinning. Let's drop that level down. Oh, it's causing them all to spin. Don't know if that was a good example. There you go. So we've also got this 15 litre Karcher, and it's got a 5 kg max. So this is some of the debris that I caught off the last time I swept, and I just left it in here. I was meant to do this video then, but forgot to. So this might look like not much debris, but across the surface area, which is artificial turf, bowling green, these kind of small particles, if you leave them to sit in there over time, and you've got other organic matter going in there, and little bits of dirt and soil, seeds and spores, you can get germination of things you don't want. You can get growth, you can get staining. So it's good to probably go over your artificial turf quite frequently to keep it tidy of debris. So the frequency kind of depends on how much play the turf gets. So generally, if you've got a lot of play, well, obviously the amount of play you get, but also kind of environmental conditions like where you are. If you've got trees around like that, then you're going to want to do it a bit more regularly as well. But just to go back to the point I was making, if you're getting quite a bit of use, generally you're gonna that will keep moss and weed growth probably at a minimum, because especially in the areas that the turf's getting played on, because it doesn't really allow, all the foot traffic doesn't allow things to kind of take off and germinate. But you still want to be cleaning your surface, because when it's getting walked into the surface over time, that can lead to staining. So you kind of want to be cleaning your turf for multiple reasons, to prevent organic matter and germination of things, and also prevent staining and things rubbing into the turf. The reason I love this tool, and I've been in the artificial turf industry for probably 10 years now, is it's lightweight and it's easy to maneuver. This is very important for artificial turf surfaces and all sports turf surfaces in general, because the last thing we want to be impacting is the playing level. We want to come in, maintain, clean the surface, but we want to keep the level basically the same. We don't want to impact the base at all, because depending on what kind of sport it is, the ball running along it, we don't want to have any impact on that, causing undulations in the base, because those kind of things are major. So the key is to get in early, start when you first get the artificial turf. Even though people think you get an artificial turf, you don't have to maintain it. That's quite wrong. You do have to maintain it. You have to keep it tidy. Can't allow things to take off and grow. But the beauty is you get it in all seasons and all weather. So just keep in mind, if you're looking at getting artificial turf, maintenance is required. So yeah, I'm just going over this. So the beauty of this sweeper is it picks up debris, but it also picks up dew. So if you've got a sports turf like this bowling green that accumulates a bit of dew overnight and early morning, it's a great tool for picking that up. As you can see, I've just gone over that run there, and it picked up all the dew, dries it out, makes it a bit less of a slip hazard. So that's another bonus of the sweeper, and that has no impact on the sweeper at all. So the sweeper itself, probably should have locked this in. You put the Karcher in there, lock it in. You got 5 different levels, okay? Now generally for artificial turf, you're only kind of going through level 1, 2 and possibly 3 very occasionally, depending on how much sand. If it's a sand infill base, then you might be going around level 2 or 3 then. But generally it's level 1, especially for bowling greens, because you're just trying to flick that small debris into the Karcher. Level 1 is actually the highest, so the brush is actually higher off the ground. Level 5, the brush is going deeper into the turf. So when you're getting up in level 5, you're actually trying to pick up huge amounts of debris. Might be effective on firm surfaces like concrete that are level, but when you've got an artificial turf, it can kind of cause the brush to sink in probably further than you'd like, and it will actually cause the wheels not to spin. I'll give you a quick example. This is it here. So this is level 5, and there's just no movement at all because the brush is kind of getting stuck, and it's pretty hard to push. So yeah, where you'd use like a level 2 would be on like a sand infill bowling, artificial turf, so maybe like a tennis court, and you're trying to remove some of that excess that sits on the surface and kind of brush it back into the turf fibers. Generally you're only using a 1 or 2 to just tidy the surface area. Obviously we're not drastically trying to change the surface area. If you think you need to go higher and drop the brush lower, because there's heavy staining and debris, you're probably looking at a different form of cleaning, to be fair. These things here are really good for cleaning a relatively clean surface or a sandy surface. They're generally not ideal for a heavily stained area. You're not really going to do anything to a stain or stained area. It's not going to pick up weeds. It's not going to pull out moss that's kind of attached and living and growing. It's really good for just preventing growth in the first place and taking debris out before you have a problem. So that's why we recommend getting one of these when you get an artificial turf surface. So it's a good practice to get into early on. So we get a lot of leaf drop on this turf, so doing this weekly is really good. Just doesn't allow things to settle. Once you start letting things settle in the turf, it can lead to staining and things getting out of hand. Now, as you can see, it does a good job picking up dew as well. As I said, it's obviously lightweight. It's probably only about 10 kgs. It's got a good even spread of weight, so it's not going to cause any damage to the turf. What else haven't I been over? That's pretty much it. This is, as I said, I've been in the industry for a few years, and definitely a tool we'd recommend. If you're looking at cleaning, staining, this isn't the tool for it. But this is pretty good if you want to look after your turf in the first place. So yeah, that's another thing I was going to bring up, is this is the professional model. There's different models that you can get depending on what you've got. If you've got residential artificial turf, so basically a backyard turf area, you can get a slightly cheaper one. This is 1,800 New Zealand dollars. But if you're using it for on a daily basis, then this is probably the one for you, and it'll probably last you 2 years, kind of thing. When I was doing it every day on sand infill turfs, doing 3 turfs a day, you're probably getting 2 years out of them, because the brush starts to soften up. All that abrasion with sand causes the brush to lose its firmness over time. But if you've just got a residential turf and you're doing it once a week, or even if you're at a sports club and you're doing it once a week, you probably get quite a long time out of one of them. So it is quite a worthy investment, and it can actually save you a hell of a lot of costs in the long run. So I'm just going to put my phone down, do a few runs to show you how easy it is. So yeah, that's the Karcher KM7020. It's a short review of it. Sorry if I over-explained a few things. Lost my train of thought a bit there. In terms of just one other thing, in terms of replacing parts, you probably have to contact Karcher. I'm not entirely sure about replacing brushes. Haven't needed to in the past, just replace the whole machine. But yeah, as I said, the brushes do wear down, especially if you're using it regularly on sand surfaces. But it's ideal if you've got a little artificial turf maintenance business and you're cleaning turf regularly, or if you've got a sports club with artificial turf. Yeah, but there are different models. This is kind of in the medium to higher price range. There's ones obviously that are a bit more expensive, and there's sweepers out there from Karcher or from other brands that are significantly cheaper. And if you've only got a backyard area or a small area, they might be ideal what you're looking for. So this is just a review, not necessarily of a Karcher sweeper. I'm not promoting them in any way, but they're the ones that I use. Yeah, just if you're looking to clean artificial turf for any reason, then these are why we recommend them. In terms of any kind of deep cleaning, deep staining, removal, that requires different sorts of methods, whether that's a motorized stiff brush or a water blaster. But those kind of things can have impacts on the actual surface or the turf density. So you always got to be thinking about, is this possibly causing damage, which is why this is good. We kind of know that it's not going to cause any damage to the turf no matter how often we do it. So that's pretty ideal. In terms of other things to consider about maintenance, spraying the full surface area for moss is always a good thing. You never know when moss is going to take off, especially with dew on the surface. That kind of cooling can just be an environment for moss growth. Or weeds, you get little weeds around the outside of turf here, little cracks. So go around and spray, glyphosate or Roundup in low traffic areas. So just think about how you maintain your artificial turf. You can kind of isolate areas depending on what you think you need. See, but the main surface area, I'd very rarely spray Roundup because there's never really gonna have a problem with weeds over the surface area. It's normally moss, that kind of staining that comes from spores or staining that's left to sit there over a period of time. So yeah, that's a quick review